Hello and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am Luana Bradford. And first of all, I want to thank all of you who have followed us over the years. We are concluding year five on e360tv.com. And today is the last episode for 2024 as we get ready to roll into season 6. And what makes this episode so special is we have the opportunity to celebrate the episode of the year for Power of the Pen. Power of the Pen is a platform designed to elevate, celebrate, and amplify the messages of men and women and their written word and or spoken word. And today I'm excited to announce the winner of 2024 Power of the Pen episode of the year, none other than the book entitled From Hero to Villain, My Story of the CITGO 6, written by Jose Angel Pereira. I am going to allow you the opportunity to lean in and have the opportunity to watch the encore episode where Jose unpackages his experience as a hostage survivor. Yes, Jose was an actual hostage for 5 years in a Venezuelan prison. He talks about his journey coming from corporate America on a regular business trip and suddenly found himself in the most unfortunate of circumstances, not knowing if he was going to survive or ever see his family again. He takes us through how this book even came to be and the partnership that he and his wife have and what he's doing today to help amplify the message of hostage situations and crises around the world, and what governments are doing to help educate, inform, and to bring these individuals back home safely. This year has been one that has been riddled in the news with talks of hostage crises around the world. Some, unfortunately, are no longer with us. But we want to give a special thanks to Jose and those who are advocates and allies and who are working to help to stop as much as possible this crisis that is in the world today. So with that, I want to again say thank you so much for being with us for 5 years on Power of the Pen. Thank you, Jose, for having the courage to write and share your story. Thank you for the work that you continue to do to amplify the message and the concern of the hostage crises that is around the world. And thank you for this amazing book, which chronicles your journey as a hostage in From Hero to Villain, My Story of the CITGO 6. And our special guest for the first episode of this season is none other than Jose Angel Pereira Rumvik. And I am just so excited to have him because his story is a very special story, a heart-tugging story, one that will make you angry when you become aware. Jose was a former oil and petroleum executive with CITGO. And going on a normal business trip, like many of us do, he found himself in an unfortunate situation at an unfortunate time. He ended up being detained, just call it as a hostage, for 5 years. Can you imagine that? 5 long years. And often we tend to not think about things unless they hit home. Or we may see them on the news. But again, here we have this executive who was just doing his job, representing his company, going to Venezuela, and found himself as well as the other 5 in the middle of a political pawn game, if you will. And for 5 years, he was held against his will.
Power of the Pen with Luana Bradford, expanding the impact and influence of authors from around the world. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write, said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Books are uniquely portable magic. Power of the Pen spotlights authors from around the world. Listen as authors share messages that educate, motivate, inspire, and entertain. Join us each Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Jose, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Lawana. It's a very honor to be again with you. The last time we stayed, you did a wonderful program showing the video that was going to be my book. So now I am very honored that now I'm here with the book already published.
Yes, congratulations. And your book is entitled From Hero to Villain, The True Story of the CITGO 6. And, every time we talk, I share your story with a lot of people. I just have to sit in that for a minute. It's like, I know someone who was a hostage. I mean, that's just, it sends chills up my spine. And, right now we're approaching the celebration of independence in this country. And I want to ask you this question. Again, you went doing your job, what you always do, nothing unusual, nothing to cause you any sense of concern. And as we get ready to approach the celebration of freedom and independence and having liberties, how did you feel when in an instant, everything that you treasured was stripped away from you?
Well, that's a very good question. Let me tell you something before I answer, is that 1 year ago, on July 4th last year, we unveiled here in Houston, where I live, a mural of the faces of people that are still hostage. And unfortunately, today, that mural has like nine faces, like maybe 5 of them already came back. No, 6 of them already came back. 3 of them are still there, and there are more hostage added to that list because of the Middle East situation. I talk about this because when I was in my hostage situation, our families that created with other families that Bring Our Family Home campaign foundation, that anybody can Google it, is that BOFH campaign, Bring Our Family Home campaign. That my family, I had the honor that was one of the pioneers of that campaign. We already are not in the campaign because the way it works, that when you get released, that you get the side to the people that are, unfortunately are still in that situation. But of course, we are connected with them. So when I was with my hostage situation, my family unveiled with other 19 families a mural in Washington, in Georgetown, where my face was. That mural today doesn't exist. It was teared down because all the people that were in that mural came back. And they are going to put a new mural in that same place with the faces of the people that today are there, because it's like a recycling of faces. So
Okay.
1 year ago, I had the honor, because I already came back, and I had the honor to go to the unveiling in the mural here in Houston. And it was very emotional because I had the opportunity to meet many families in person that were part of my same situation. So meeting families of, I can name some of them here. There is a journalist that from here to Houston, has 12 years in Syria. His name is Austin Tice. And her mom, Deborah Tice, was there, a wonderful lady, and another families too. 2 of my neighbors in Venezuela, there were 2 Green Berets, Luke Aaron and Mark Damon. They were in that mural. They came back. I saw them 1 month ago in Washington. We had the opportunity to meet and take photos and know her families and their fiancé, their wife. It was a very emotional. So yeah, for me, this is very close to my heart. So answering to the question, how is the feeling of losing the freedom? Is everything. I say always that the most precious thing to lose beside the life is the freedom. Is the freedom. It's something that I cannot describe with words when you lose the freedom, the cross emotion that you have, because it's not only thinking in you, it's thinking in your family. What is going to happen to them? So it's really, really, really. I want to let people really think on that. That when you go to a situation that you really don't think that can happen to you, that can happen, because it happened to normal people. Because this is something that I always talk, that is the hostage diplomacy. It's something that doesn't have to do with you. It's with the tension that are happening with two countries, and you get caught in the middle. Inadvertently, you get caught in the middle of something that doesn't have nothing to you. But it's a reality. It's happening to many people. And then in that moment, it's not only you losing the freedom, it's your family losing the freedom. So this is something that I talk about that in my book.
Yeah, what you were just saying, it's not just you, it's the ripple effect, right?
Yes.
Your family, your friends, your community, I mean, everyone is feeling this. And you described in your book, you use the terms like despair and anguish. And you mentioned that, okay, this is 5 years. So to the listening audience, 5 years, imagine 5 years not knowing if you're going to live or die, if you'll ever see your family again. And you mentioned that for the first 10 months, you were in isolation.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because some people, like I've talked to some people about your situation, and again, because of ignorance, they'll say, well, that's just like being, in a U.S. prison system. And I said, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
This morning, by the way, Lawan, I was talking with a friend. He's a Canadian producer that he's trying to push our story to a production. And I had a conversation this morning with him, and because he's tried to craft the script of that,
Okay.
and he wrote my book, and he was making me question about that, trying to understand that, because he want to concentrate exactly in those first 10 months, because he understood that these are the most emotional moments, and then he wanted me to explain the details, and I had never had that conversation. So when I was explaining him about how it was, let me try to be graphic on this. We were in
Okay.
a place, I always say it was called the submarine. Okay, the people say, okay, it's a submarine. Well, that submarine was locked, didn't have windows, didn't have fresh air, didn't have running water, was a three-story basement. It was a basement below the parking lot of that area. That was during that time in Venezuela in December, rains a lot. So it was raining, and all the water that was filtering came from the ceiling to us. We were sleeping in the floor, and we were sleeping in a mattress they give us to us stained with blood. I I I I
Hmm.
I, I got scabies because all my I got all my skin begin to itch. Who knows who were there in that mattress? So now I'm in that situation. I was sweating all the day because there was no air conditioning. So and at some point, because you're so confined that your breathing begins to be in all the atmosphere. So now you're without air conditioning. Now you're breathing your own air, and all that. So is and that situation during 10 months, and with the lights turned on all the day long. I was not allowed to turn down the lights, so I had to put me some socks in my eyes to sleep. And by the way, in the wall that separated the submarine, in the other side of the wall, I discovered after that, because we were transferred to the area 10 months after, there was a room they called the madness room. That room, they did physical torture. And I was in the night hearing that. I was in the night hearing, because what separated was a wall. So I was hearing in the night, all night long torture. So it was a real bad situation, because you can get broken, you can go mad, you can begin to have suicidal thought like I begin to have. Let me tell you, at some point I begin to say, see, if this is going to be my life from now on, I prefer to take my life off because I was accused to be American spy. Can you imagine that the implication of that? American spy and treason to the country. So they were charging me like 30 years, so I can stay there forever. So it's something that people understand. How it was. It was not a typical American prison. That is a communist regime. It's a different animal.
Yeah, that's I can't even imagine. Even hearing you, it's like I see like what we've seen in movies or documentaries, but I mean I can't imagine that. And I consider you a friend that I'm talking to someone that had that unfortunate experience.
Yeah.
But I'm just so glad to have you here that you did survive, and you are truly a message of hope, of inspiration, of grit and resilience. And I'd like to talk to the audience a little bit about how did this story even come about? Because we all have stories, right? But for you, it's quite unique that there was someone on the other side capturing your experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the way I begin to think in this book was because, as I said, I didn't know if I really was going to survive. I really, really was thinking that I was going to die because I'm not saying all the illness I went through. I was starving. I lost 100 pounds. I suffered a heart attack. I suffered bronchitis, pneumonia, 2 times COVID. So I went through a lot of situations there. So going through all those things there, and without medicine, without medical attention, we were trying to get medical attention. I had a lawyer in Venezuela, and I remember that the first time I could go to a doctor was like 1 year after. And that day was a national blackout because the country was running without electricity. So it was a total pain, no food, no medicine, no electricity, no water, no nothing. So I was in the middle of that situation. So I decided after almost 1 year, well, literally 1 year after, because that my situation happened in November 2017, and in December 2018, because I had a letter, I decided to begin to write letters to my wife. And I tell in my book the way I did it. A lot of details. I say how I did my first letter. That was December 30, 2018. I exactly had the date because I had the date of the letter. So December 30, 2018 was my first letter that I decided to smuggle with her, thinking that I was not going to survive, thinking that if I didn't survive, she will have at least those letters. But for some reason of God, first, they never found the letter. Second, we continued doing during 3 years. And third, I'm here back. So when I came back, I found that we really had written almost 1,000 letters. And my wife took the thing that she put it in Word, and she kind of became my editor because she really had put it there in Word and make a correction. Of course, I had to go to an editor, proofreading, all this stuff, but I had almost the raw manuscript already written. And that became my book. So my book is based on those letters, and so that's why my book has that emotion inside. And I narrate a lot of details because I had writing. It was like a memoir, so I have a lot of details in the book.
Yeah, and as you said, that's a very unique situation that you were able to write. She was able to receive the letters, and it was your experiences at the time, right? It's not you coming back and now trying to recall the journey. You were capturing it as it was happening.
Yeah. There are some pieces at the end of the book that I had to put situations that happened after I came back. Of course, there was not in letters, so I had to go back. But it could be maybe 20% of the book. The most important piece of the book is based on those raw letters that I converted in a book. Of course, I had to edit it to put it in the form of a book. But my letters in the future, I'm going to put it in some place for my grandson, the original letters.
Yeah, that's important to preserve the legacy and the history, right?
Mhm.
Not just leave it to the oral part, or like you said, or just the book, but really being able to pass that on. And you never know, it may be picked up by the Smithsonian. Let's speak that.
You,
The
you know,
Smithsonian may want to capture your story because there are too many people that are suffering, unfortunately, right? They're innocent. They're not part of the military spy system or anything like that, but they're just caught at the wrong place at the wrong time.
correct.
um, I want to ask you, what was the very first thing, besides hug your wife, that you did when you got your freedom?
I went to the church. I went to the church. The first thing I did, I went to the church. I came in October 1st, 2022, under the protection of the U.S. government, and we stayed 10 days in a military base in here in San Antonio. We stayed in the compression program called PISA. There's a program that they apply for the prisoner of war and missing in action. So I went to that program. It was a very good program because it was like, they call it the decompression. They always say that is when, like, you have a Coca-Cola and then you open it very slowly, so
Mhm.
get decompressed. So that's what they did with us. Okay, and my wife had the opportunity to be with me in that program. So when we were coming back 10 days after, now we are on October 11. I remember it was like a Wednesday, something like that. And I came back to my house, and of course, my all my family was waiting, and they prepared a good meal for me. I remember they did my second son did a pasta alla rabbiata, Italian food, and then we they were waiting me. And I remember that when they received me, they put the song "We Are the Champion of Queen." You know, we
Yes, yes.
with balloons and we are the champion. So it was a very emotional celebration. And when I was sitting down, my daughter-in-law, the wife of my son, she has had already more than 1 year going to this church, and she told me, Mr. Jose, I want you to go with me this Sunday to the church. So I went. I met my pastor. That today we are connected, and that was my first thing, going to the church. Yeah,
let's
expressing gratitude for God.
let's talk about, because you do talk about your faith a lot. And when you were going through some of the hardest times, like you said, you even had thoughts of suicide, that you didn't want this to be, your life, 30 years possibly. How, and I'd like you to speak specifically to the audience. If there's someone out there that is in that really, really dark space, whatever it is, it's their journey. What would you say to them about tapping into faith, and how did that help you to just make it through? Sometimes not day to day, it's moment by moment, right?
Yeah, yeah. Faith today for me is the answer of everything. Because when you have faith, it guides you to hope, and when you go have hope, it guides you to strength, and when you have strength, it guides you to become resilient, and that makes you change your mindset. So that's what happened to me. When I begin, when I heard the voice of my wife after those first terrible 10 months, and she was telling me that she were fighting, the six family were fighting hard to bring us back. I understood that I needed to come back to them. I understood that I needed to come back, and not only come back, I needed to come back strong in one piece. And I decided to work hard on that. And of course, after we were reunited with my other colleagues, because at some point the pressure of the press and the friction that made that they put us together. So we began to pray, we began to read the Bible. So that strengthens our faith. So I tell to anybody that is going to any dark situation that you need to have faith. You need to really think in the faith and that thing that you don't see, but miracles happen. I'm the proof of that.
Yes, yes, you are. And I love what you said. It starts with faith, then hope, then strength, then resilience.
Mhm.
And with this, so I want to ask this question in a different way. You were a corporate executive, so there comes a set of leadership skills that you just innately had developed in your professional career. Did you find yourself leaning on any of that or any of the things that maybe your parents taught you to just help to gird you up during those times?
Yeah, definitely yes. I went through things in my life that I believe that really that shaped me. By the way, my second book is going to talk about that, my family story. I have a very particular family story because I come from a family that are a generation of oil workers in Venezuela, my country. My father, my grandfather were pioneers in the Venezuelan oil industry. And when I began my career in the oil industry in Venezuela, for some reason of God, I was in some crucial moments in the history of Venezuela. And even when I came back, I was assigned here to the U.S. at CITGO Petroleum. There is a U.S.-based company that belongs to the PDVSA, the Venezuelan oil company. So I have a family story and a personal, particular family, personal story that I really, really today believe that was part of the shaping my strength to what I was gonna go. And today I believe that is God shaping you, forging you, and you never knew why you were going through this situation. And today I understand more why I went through this. I'm gonna tell that in my second book.
I look forward to your second book. As you were going through your day to day, did you have like a set mantra that you would go through, or was it just however you felt you would lean into to different things? I mean, what I'm just trying to really understand how you were able to capitalize on resilience to make it
Well,
through, because you look at mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, you were being attacked on all sides.
yeah, that's a very good question because this is very important because exactly what we did is that we created, I call it a survivor plan. We created a survivor plan and we did it with the six, by the way. I'm not going to have all the credit. It was a collective creation because remember, we were oil and gas executive. We already had a strategic mindset. So we created, I would always say that we really did like a board meeting. A board meeting and a discussion and what we were had to do. And one of our guys, he was assigned to be the goalkeeper. He was the guy was going to keep that people stick to the plan. And we created a very comprehensive plan to do it on a daily basis. A total comprehensive plan that began in the very early in the morning to eat, to exercise, to read because by the time we have allowed to have books, to write. I was writing, and the others also were writing. To write, to have fun. We began to play domino, to clean. Remember, it became the pandemic, and now we are in the pandemic. So we did a very comprehensive disinfectation of the room, and everybody was had a day. Every day, everybody was assigned to do the cleaning. You didn't have to be telling nobody to do nothing because we had a schedule. So I knew that in that week I had to do it two times in the week. So, for example, if I had to clean Wednesday and Saturday, and Wednesday I was prepared. I was the designated the cleaning. So we did all this thing, and at the end of the day, we began to pray and read the Bible. It was like a 3 hour daily basis. And when we finalized, it was around 8 p.m. in the night. We were really busy doing things. And 11 p.m. we was going to the bed to sleep in peace, and we shut it out. We are gonna come back in strong in soul, body, and spirit. That was like a daily anthem. That was the closing of the day, and we slept in peace. And we began to repeat that routine during years. We kept doing that during almost 4 years on a daily basis, and the days begin to go really fast. We were stick to that plan all the days. One day, the director of the prison came to us because they saw what we were doing, because they came and said, these guys are crazy. And one day the guy came to the space, the cell, and he said, hey man, from what planet did you come? He saw that we were like Martians, because maybe they believed that we were crazy. We were not crazy. We knew what we were doing. We really begin to do things in a way, in a very comprehensive way, and that helped create that routine.
When you say that, I was thinking about in the Bible, there was a story about the three boys that were thrown in the fire, Shadrach, Meshach, and
Oh yeah,
Abednego,
of course.
right? But the fire consumed everything but them. And that's what I'm hearing from you. It's like you found camaraderie and strength among yourselves. You had a plan of action, and you all were in the fire.
Yeah.
Right? You may have been burned, but you were not consumed.
Yeah, we were really focused. La Juana, for me, the days begin to go so fast that you begin to see the time going fast and fast, because we were all the day doing things. We were like hamsters doing things. I remember the exercising. One of my peers, Jorge, he's a marathon runner. So he created a exercise plan that we did, because he praised Buddhism. So we were meditating, we were doing yoga, we were doing cardio, push-up, static running, and we did it like 3 hours. So we were like,
Wow.
can you imagine 6 guys in a closet doing that during 3 hours? And we did it. So we had a routine to exercise. And I began to do push-up. In my life, I have done push-up. I began to do a lot of push-up.
I love that. And I think for those that are listening, we are here talking about the newly released book, From Hero to Villain, The True Story of the CITGO 6 by Jose Angel Pereira. And this is his story about being held captive against his will for 5 years as a hostage. You can find his book on his website. The contact information is there, joseconnect.com. There are various medium that are out there for you to get a copy of this book. And I promise you, your life is going to be changed, because sometimes we think we are aware or that we know, but we have no clue. No clue. I mean, even just, again, listening to you, and I'm nodding, I understand, right, the words, but I can't fathom or comprehend your walk. I can't even put myself there. It's just, it's moving.
I'm going to say something about that. The way we were released, and well, the story, of course, the detail you will find in the book, but 1 year before we were released, there began to be direct negotiation between the U.S. government and Venezuela, because our case got at that level. So the president at that time, that is the actual president, because our case began with the prior president and finalized with the actual president. And both administrations were committed to bring us back. So, and by the way, the negotiation that was appointed by the prior president, he was ratified by the actual president. So he was the same guy. So that guy, his name is Roger Carsten. He runs an office called the Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, because the situation in hostage here in the U.S. it has been increased so much that now there exists this special presidential office attached to the State Department, and he has a rank of Subsecretary of State. So he's a high rank official. So that guy was the negotiator of our release. So he flew 1 year after before our release, and he did 3 trips to Venezuela. In the first trip, he met us. In the second trip, he brought one of us. The guy that came back in the first trip, 9 months after that I came, I remember that when I came, we had a conversation. We had like a 3-hour talk. We had a lot of reflection, because he was kind of feeling guilty that he was the first. He came back, and we came back 9 months after. And I told him, man, we're here, no problem. And we were proud when you were released, because at least one of us was released. So we knew that our release was coming at some point. And when we finalized the conversation, he told me this: Jose, only you and I can understand what we went through. Even we try to explain to others, even we put as much as graphic as you can. The only person that really will understand what we went through will be you and I. And that's the reality. It's something that is so complex that only a person that has gone through this can understand in a deeply way. I'm not saying that you cannot connect. That is something that is only somebody that has gone through something like this can understand really in a deeply way. And let me tell you, Lawana, now that I'm connected to the hostage community, that I have had the opportunity to meet former hostage, and I know them in person. 1 month ago, I was in Washington in a big gala meeting of one of the foundations, and I met the people that were released recently in September from Iran, and I met the
Mhm.
people that were released from Afghanistan, and I met people that were with me in Venezuela that were released in September. So now there are like I don't know, like 10 people that was released, and the guys were released years ago. All together, we did a photo that, by the way, I have in my webpage, that photo, a collective photo we took. So now we're all like a family, and we were talking about our experience, and it's like a bond. I said that this is like it's something really, really spiritual, the bond that you create, because are people that went through the same experience you went. Different country, different situation, but the outcome is the same.
Yeah.
So you create
Yeah.
really that.
Yeah. Like you said, it becomes this very unique community of a shared experience. And the work that you're doing in helping to promote awareness, definitely your book is a platform and springboard to heighten the awareness even more. I know you talk to people about how they can get involved, but I have another question for you. You are, again, strategic leader, you're a survivor, you're an author, and now you're a coach. Let's talk about how those all intersect and what is your ultimate goal in helping the world. Those of us that hopefully never experience the hands of being a hostage or having. Well, you know what? When you think about what this country is going through, it's totally different. I'm not at all comparing it, but when we think about liberties at risk,
Yes.
right? Freedoms at risk.
Yeah.
How will you leverage all of your lived experiences, your strategic insight, and now your positioning as a coach to really help empower individuals and communities?
Yeah, I want to begin to increase much more my reach, and my book, I believe, is going to be part of that, because for example, I'm today getting invitations of church, because I'm a Christian guy. I'm beginning to get invited to church, and it's wonderful because it's a great communities. The people that we share values, and now I'm talking about raising awareness of this situation. And I'm beginning to talk with NGOs. I'm beginning to reach foundations and some corporate events. And I want to continue. This for me is going to be a non-stoppable. I really believe that this for me became a calling. And I'm very honored that today, as I say, that I connected with my church, that now I'm more aware of things that I went through. I have more insight of the
Mm-hmm.
answer that I was asking. That I'm so all this process after I came back has been really a growth process, a spiritual growth process. So now I'm more I have more tools to explain to people about the situation and how they can really overcome things in life. I'm talking about a business or in your life, because it applies to both. Because can you imagine the one of people that begin a business and they're hostage of their own things, They get stuck in their situation. So you don't have to be a physical hostage to go through a situation in life. Maybe you sometimes are hostage of your beliefs.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If you, when you look at your life today and you rewind 6 years ago in 2017, what is the most changed about you?
Well, I'm a different person. Lawan, I still in the process. My wife says, you have changed, you have things still that is part of your personality. I was a guy always, thinking ahead, years ahead. I'm not saying that you don't have to be a plan guy. I'm not
Right.
saying. I'm saying that you have to try to live your life and have more gratitude, the small things in life that I was not aware of, nothing of that. I was a corporate guy that didn't take care of what was going in the world. I even wasn't taking care of my family. I literally had abandoned my family because of my work. I was a real true workaholic, 20 hours a day. And by the way, when my situation happened, there was a high tension, political tension between Venezuela and U.S. That was the creation of the situation that finalized with our getting the middle of the situation, and the situation was so stressful that I was even drinking. So I was heading to get that. My the pastor of my church, he always talk about those two things, that when God goes to you, he has two ways to do it. He does an intersection and he does an intervention. When he does the intersection is because he gets before the things happen. So he avoid the thing to happen and he intersect the situation. So there's is a blessing. But sometimes God intervenes. He has to intervene. When God intervenes, is because the situation already happened. So you're in the hole. So he grabs you and takes you from the hole. I believe today that God did an intersection in our case because I was heading to get. If this situation didn't happen to me, maybe I will not be today talking with you. I was really heading to get that. I was going to suffer a heart attack. Something bad was going to happen to me. So, so I'm not saying that I'm glad that this happened to me, but he took me, he put me in that dark place, but he took care of me. So now I'm there, and after the first year that we begin to have food and all this stuff, I begin to, because my family begin to provide me the food, was healthy food. So now I have my blood pressure under control. I have my diabetes under control. My hypothyroidism under control. All the illness that I had in the past are gone. Now I don't have them. So it was like a big retreat that I went through. I'm not telling the people to go to that situation, of course.
Right. Yeah, you don't want them to go to that
You don't
extreme,
want
but
that big retreat, but yeah, the hands of God were there, Lawana, because He never put you in situation that you cannot bear. So we really, really were going to situations, but He was taking care. So that's something that today I learned that after I came back, I begin to see that wow, this is what happened to me. So yeah, sometimes you're going to a situation in life that you don't know why you're going through those situations. And sometimes the people that can be hearing this say, but I'm going to this, why this is happening to me. You don't know what God has to you. You don't know what's the purpose that God has to you. You have to go and find it. And if you find that when you see the picture of your life some year after, you will maybe think that you will say that you will be glad to have gone through this situation to be where you're going to be in the future. So it's a matter of think on that. And when you think that way, because this is part of the faith, that you're now going to struggle in bad situation, but you were going to have a better future. So now you're going to pursue that good future. So that makes you think in that different way.
Yeah, I love that. We're almost out of time, and I just want to ask you, what's next? I mean, I know your book has just launched. You're getting the word out about that, but what's next? Where do you see yourself 3 to 5 years from now? What kind of impact do you want to have in 3 to 5 years?
Well, somebody the other day joking with me said, "You have to become a pastor." No, I don't want to be a pastor. That's oh, that's not my goal. But I really want to begin to reach masses. I really want to want to reach masses because I really think that I have a message that resonate. Is a message that is connected to with my beliefs, and is connected that I really can impact masses. I really want to go on that direction, and I don't know if I'm gonna be there or not, but I'm gonna pursue that. Yeah.
I love that.
F. Scott Fitzgerald stated, "Don't write because you want to say something. Write because you have something to say." There are thousands of people waiting to read your book and hear your message. Be a guest on the Power of the Pen TV series. To complete your application and schedule your interview, call 404-618-2824 today. The world is waiting for you.
I'm going to give you just one moment for you to speak directly to the audience. Anything that you want to share. The contact information is below for those of you who want to read this book, From Hero to Villain, the true story of the CITGO 6. And Jose, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Well, the audience that's hearing me, my book has a real legacy to you about things in life that even that you can be going in any dark moment. I'm not going to say that all the answers are there, but you will find how we went through this. So if you really want to help me and promote the raising the awareness of the terrible hostage situation, but at the same time having a tool that can help you to anything, go to joseconnect.com, and then you will find all the links to all the major platforms where the book is there. And if you want to have me book me to go to speak to any of your audience, I also am promoting a package that you buy a set of book, and then I can go and speak to any of your audiences. It can be your corporation, it can be virtual, it can be in person. I'm very open to that. And my coaching program talks about this too. And so you go on my webpage, you will see all the coaching I have. I have one-on-one and collective coaching. So I'm very open. Go to my webpage, contact me, or DM me. DM me. I'm in LinkedIn. You can DM me in LinkedIn or in Facebook. In my webpage, you will find the links. You can DM me there. You can contact me anywhere. So reach me. If you're going to any situation, reach me that I can help you. Thank you, Lawana.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you, do you have a copy of your book near you?
Yes, but I had I don't know if it can be seen. Okay. Sorry, because I have that.
No. It's okay. I will make sure we will have it where people can see it on the screen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you to do something before we go, because I think it's important that sometimes they actually hear the author's voice reading their own words. Can you pick a passage and just read to us, if you don't mind?
I'm going to read the chapter 50. My book has 18 chapters, but this chapter for me is very emotional because the chapter is called Reflections of a Hero Turned into a Villain. So I'm going to read some reflection. First, we want to thank my reader for coming this far. In this episode of my book, I try to narrate the origin and the outcome of the catastrophic case that was known as CITGO 6 from my own perspective. I wanted to tell you my story, my version of having been the protagonist of the first person of these events. But in addition to having lived a series of previous experiences, which today are assembled the puzzle of my life, I can understand how it was forged. The case of the CITGO 6 is tied to the destruction of a country called Venezuela, and the destruction of the primary source of the income, which is the oil industry. Very close to my heart because I'm an oil and gas worker. When I rewind the film I see several seemingly connected events in my life. Still, all were milestone events in my country contemporary story, which explained the outcome of this case. At the time, I thought there were happening experience in a catastrophic event in my life, such as of the loss of my father at 15 years. But it was part of my success of my career at PDVSA, that is the Venezuelan oil company. But I didn't see nothing coming, but there was signs of God behind this. That He was forming me for the great event and how I should discover my purpose and the legacy to transcend into the life. So the so-called CITGO 6K will go down in history as one of the most aberrant things that could happen to an American, that like it happened to me. When this event occurred, the company from day one turned us back, and our family was really on despair. Just day after the fateful event, the government of Venezuela appointed a new president that replaced me. Within a week, the company was taken. They completely ignored us. So it was a very curious and unfortunate that managing to have the unrestricted support of the entire chain of the government of the USA, we really were left behind. Catastrophic experience may all be different, but they are always have a common root. There are events that will divide your life in a before and an after. Your life and those that surround you will change forever. They all have 4 stages of the crisis, which narrates the beginning of the introduction. In a manage to recover, overcome those tests, understand the divine signs, and rise like the phoenix from the ashes. They will have learned their lesson and they will live their life will transcend. It means facing adversity and transforming an adverse event into an opportunity for personal growth that marks the emergence of the new positive challenge in your life. Here is what I want to convey, and I want to have that like a legacy for you. Today, I can understand, having experienced so many events in my life, that they were not isolated. Ultimately, I want to thank God we were alive during that great tragedy. In November 2017, that we traveled to Venezuela, maybe the plane had crashed and we could have died, but God gave us a second chance. So I want to leave it here because it continues. But this is a reflection that all where we went and how we rediscovered God, how we reconnected with God. And it was a journey, Lawana. I met wonderful people there. Because we were not in a normal, typical prison. We were in a prison with all the political prisoners of Venezuela. Wow. By the way, Venezuela is going to have an election in 1 month, and there's a very high chance of have a political change in Venezuela. And maybe the people that are going to be the newcomers of the new government were my comrades. So I'm very excited that I met people that are going to be maybe the future leaders of the country. Yeah.
Right. No, thank you so much for reading that, and to our listening audience. If that didn't draw you in, if this interview didn't draw you in, I don't know what will. Jose is just an incredible man, an amazing heart. I mean, just your love, your passion for humanity is just evident. And this fight is real. This fight is real. There are a lot of people, as you said, that are still waiting to come home. Yeah. And I appreciate and salute all the work that you're doing. I wish you well and great success beyond your wildest imaginations with this book. With your leadership track and in the coaching program. And again, I'm so honored that you're on this show on Power of the Pen. And again, you can get his book From Hero to Villain, The True Story of the CITGO 6 at his website, joseconnect.com. And any other information that you want, joseconnect.com.
Everything is there, everything.
Thank you so much. And to our listening audience, we look forward to seeing you next week for another edition of Power of the Pen. And we just encourage you that when you have something to say, rise up, whether in word or written word, and make a difference, because you never know when your story can be the change that shifts the world. Thank you so much. Until next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you very much.